Hello, beautiful souls, with Tramadol here from Soul Healing Tribe, and I started the previous numerology video, and I got distracted and went off a different topic. So I want to go back to the vision that I had of Ursula Freda and how I saw the portal and the matrix and all of that, and tie that up to a book from 24 years ago by Dr. Reginald Crosley. It is called the Vodou Quantum Leap or something like that. The Vodou Quantum Leap, Leap Alternative Reality, something. I don't remember the whole title, but if you look up Reginald Crosley, you are going to find his book on voodoo. And basically, he's tying voodoo to quantum physics and explaining the soul and spirit and the fact that from apparently there was a lot of work done to research what happens to people that believe that are possessed, and some psychiatrists were trying to indicate that people that are possessed are having some type of phenomenon where they think that they're being possessed by something outside of them, but it's actually just um, hysteria. So here in this book, the Vodou Quantum Leap, Crosley is trying to communicate not only the background of voodoo, and as we all know, voodoo means spirit and force of nature, energy, right? But he goes even further to do some of the historical background that we need to understand from all the cross combinations of the different African ancestors that came from Africa, not only from the Nigeria area, but other parts of Africa. So many, many, many different tribes. And he specifically focuses on, I think mostly he focuses on the Bantu and the Yorubas, because that's a pretty good amount of the most significant ones normally are those are the ones that people tend to focus the most, because there were be influence on what is voodoo today or what it was before, that is still today, right? And so we have he goes into explaining some things that when I found this book, I was like, whoa, this is exactly what happened to me when I had that vision of Ursula Freda with the matrix and opening of the portal. And I mean, he was amazing. But he is explaining in this book, and I really want you to check it out because I thought it was a really good book. I don't have it here, but you can find it on online. Just go find it. Dr. Crosley, Reginald Crosley. He he has a lot of he really did his research, because based on what he's talking about in the other book that I have that I love, that talks about the bevets and the diagrams and everything, the sigils. Who did that book? Milo. Oh my God. Milo. I cannot see from here. But that book is amazing too. It doesn't have as much information because it has a lot of decisions, but it doesn't have as much information as Crosley's book. But I think the Milo's book on the sigils is definitely like for advanced people. Anyway, so Crosley is talking about the fact that these voodoo entities, spiritual entities, or he calls them shadow matter entities in a lot of places in the book, interchangeably, where he's talking about the fact that these entities are basically like, imagine having physical beings from other realities, from parallel realities that are communicating with this reality and are interacting in a way that we can call on them when we need them. And this is exactly part of the vision that I had of how the portal opens from when we call on them, and when we call on Ancestral specifically on that vision, and it was just amazing. So this he's saying that these voodoo spirits are basically spiritual or shadow matter entities. He's not saying and, he's saying or shadow matter entities. And what he's saying is that these shadow matter entities can appear from parallel universes. Oh my God, I love it, because you know what? When I first say some of these things, people thought that I was crazy, and I didn't even know about this book. So I'm like, when I was reading that book, I should have done the video when I read the book, because you will have seen my expressions and everything. I was like, I got you. So I was like, I know I'm not going crazy. So he's talking about the fact that he has done a lot of research, and he spoke to a lot of different people, and some of these people are very high up people that had access to priests and priestesses with a lot of knowledge. And the fact that he's talking about parallel universes, I was like, yes, because this is what I believe too. So he is really going deep with the idea that these are not all of them, by the way. He's saying that some of these beings that are mysteries not only are from parallel universes, but that they can also be, obviously, our deceased ancestors and so on, that are working with specific energies for whatever purpose, for the soul evolution. But the fact that he's mentioning parallel universes that these energies come from, it was like mind-blowing, because I was like, I cannot believe that this guy is saying what I really feel and see when I'm talking and I'm interacting with some of these beings, or when I'm channeling, or even mounting. Like, it's just mind-blowing that someone actually put this in ink and that someone else can read it. So anyways, I find that completely fascinating, because for a good part, I was like, maybe something is wrong with my head, that I am reading and seeing and understanding this in this way. So he is saying, Crosley is also saying that the manifestation of these beings, what happens to us, because we are matter, mind, spirit, and soul, that when these energies possess or come close enough with our auric and aura field, astral body, basically, the astral body, right? That we've been talking about for a long time. The moment that we come in contact with these energies, they are going to, the person that is mounting, if they're doing full possession, it's like a part of them moves to the side and the other comes and control the body. So the consciousness of the human that we are moves to the side, and the energy that is coming possesses the entire body to do and move and talk and do what it needs to do, heal, whatever it is, right? So this is important, because I think sometimes there is a lot of fear in, I think it's easy for all of us to be afraid sometimes, like, what the heck is coming and why is this happening? And that's why we have so many horses that are, we call them lobos, wild, like a wild wolf, right? Because they have no training, they don't know what's happening, they're trying to really stay away from that feeling that something is coming and taking control of me. So that sometimes they even do damage to themselves, because they don't know how to say no, or how to let the energy move in a way that doesn't cause so much damage. But I gotta be honest with you, mounting is not something that I look forward to. It's definitely something that I respect, because you know, the consequences after, even when you're mounting and everything is great, the after though, it's like your body, it's like was, sometimes it feels like it was hit by a truck, and sometimes it's great. So you don't know what you're going to get. So anyways, I deviate. Let me go back to the main topic here. So one of the things that he was talking about in that book is that the Hugans, the Mambos, that are working with these energies, normally they go through training with the elders, right? And it is a practice that is an oral practice that the things are passed down from one generation to the other. Normally, you're not going to find secrets in books and so on. So without the proper training, we can really be confused about what's happening, what's going on, and so on. But one of the things that he does really good in that book is that he talks from the medical point of view, because he's a doctor. From the medical point of view, what happens to the body when the energy that is coming to enter in contact with our body, what happens to the nervous system, and how come most of the time we're going to feel it on the neck, the head, and the feet, and the tingliness, because an outside force is coming in contact with the nervous system, and therefore sometimes we can feel like something is wrong. What's going to happen to me? We lose complete consciousness sometimes, depending on what type of horse of the mystery you are. Some people can stay conscious, some people lose some consciousness, some people completely go unconscious. So it really depends on your gift and what you're supposed to be doing and so on. And perhaps anyways, I'm not going to go into but you understand what I'm saying. Depending on your gift, and if you lose or don't lose consciousness, or if you keep some consciousness and you're learning alongside the way, and you're learning to do things without having to call on them and so on, it can be a beautiful relationship. So he is also mentioning that in the book, he's mentioning the fact that some of the, I don't remember who he quoted because it's been a while, but he was talking about the fact that some research that was being done not only was to with the whole hysteria thing that people were, he talked about hypnotism and how Mesmer, and we all know about Mesmer because he basically came back thousands of years ago in Egypt, and there were the sleep temples, and it was fascinating work, and people would go into hypnosis really easily. The priests and priestesses of ancient Egypt would put people in hypnosis to do work that they needed to do, and it worked. But throughout the time, eventually at one point in the 1700s, I think it was before the 1700s, people thought that putting people under hypnosis was because people were working with black magic. So it was a no-no. And then it was Mesmer who came back. I think it was Mesmer who came back and was like, okay, we need to see what else is here. And they started using it for medical hypnosis. And eventually we're here today where hypnosis is a pretty common thing and everybody's open to it. Most people are open to it. But he was relating that to the fact that some doctors were talking about voodoo and the possession similar to hypnosis. And Crosley was saying it's not really, I mean, there are similarities, but it's not really the same because when they were talking about those doctors, when they were talking about that, they were trying to make it seem like it was hysteria, like it was just something is going to happen. And you know how when people have hysteria that they are very what is the word that I'm looking for, like you can convince someone that something is that is not. But what Crosley is saying is when the person is being possessed, the nervous system and the auric body knows that something is happening, and it feels a little funny, which is why sometimes people start panicking. And eventually, if the person is 100% possessed, they lose consciousness and the new energy comes in, which is different than hypnosis, because it's not just that something else is coming in to communicate through your vocal cords. Sometimes even your vocal cords will change depending on who you're mounting. So there are similarities, but there are differences. I hope I'm making sense, because I don't want to confuse you. But when you are being possessed and you don't know that you're being possessed, it's almost like you wake up and you know nothing happened. Some people, when they are in hypnosis and they wake up and they don't know if something happened, something similar happens to the possession, where they're experiencing and speaking in different tones and different languages, and they're speaking as a male or female, and they're in a past life, and they're reenacting the whole life. That is a possession too, right? But it's a different type of possession. You are opening up the electromagnetic fluids in order for you to really, your subconscious, in order for you to really travel to past lives and experience things that are there. There is no time and space when it comes to the soul. So when we connect to the soul, we can access the subconscious to go to where we normally, with our open eyes and our consciousness of today, we might not be able to if your third eye isn't very open. So when you are under hypnosis and you are working with someone that knows how to guide you, you're going to go to past life just like you're here. And you're going to be able to interact with forces outside of you, just like we can do when you're being possessed. But it's a different type of possession, because even though you are interacting, and even when you lose consciousness 100%, some people will lose consciousness and they will wake up from hypnosis and think, what happened? I don't remember anything. What we want people to know is to remember, because there's still a part of them here that needs to make 2 and 2 together. When somebody goes so deep that they lose consciousness, then the neurons in the brain that need to communicate with each other don't communicate the way that we need them to communicate in order for the person to feel better here now, because the consciousness of today needs to understand what happened so that it can let things go. But if it doesn't, even when the person goes really deep, then the person needs to continue to do work. So which is why we don't want to take someone in hypnosis and just have them fall asleep and that's it, because then it won't be permanent change. It might be temporary. It might not be no change depending on the person and what happened. So you really want someone to know that they're here and that they're somewhere else at the same time. And I know that can be a little confusing, but the reason why is because of the neurons. Once the neuron, when we have the trauma, when we have trauma in childhood and we didn't get to develop, that means that pieces of our soul didn't get to incarnate in this body that we're here today. So when we do the healing work, we are allowing pieces of our soul that couldn't really anchor into this body to be able to do that now, which is why I find this work completely fascinating. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So that's why I'm breaking it down. But when you go into voodoo or spiritism or any type of occult practice, and you start really working with some of these energies, and you start having visions and seeing things and understanding things, you're going to understand things that some other people might never be able to understand, even though they might be doing this for a long time, because not all the secrets are given to everyone, and because it depends on the level of filter that you have and what filters you have before you were born here. So there is a lot of things. Some people might be really good priests and priestesses in this reality here now, because they can follow the rules and what they have been given from ancestors. But if they don't have an open filter of consciousness from other experiences, they might not be as good as they could be, because there is still something there that they need to understand to open up to more things that sometimes people don't get it, because they just follow the rules of what happened that are given to them without understanding why they're doing those things. So anyways, why am I saying that? I think I completely lost track of what I wanted to say. So anyways, the Loa, the mystery, these spirits, these forces, right, that are the mysterious, the mysteries. He's saying in his book that these forces are not only from inorganic matter or organic matter or whatever, but they can also be from other parallel realities that are superimposed. So when we call on them, whatever we're doing with the sigils, with the chanting, whatever we're doing, that we are basically opening up for them to come through and attach to the astral body. So eventually they have access to the physical body. Isn't that amazing? And right now it's 11:11. So anyways, so with when we have that, you know, when you're mounting and you have that energy that comes in and it's like a kiss, like a wind coming in, and you're like, oh, something is happening here. Or you're listening to the paddles and you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm definitely feeling it, right? That means your body is getting ready to move so that there is communication with these other energies. And depending on the relationship with them, you either completely give your seat, your body away so that they can do what they need to do, or it could be half and half, or it could just be like 25%. Okay, let me check it out and see what's happening. Maybe we need to build some trust here. Sometimes they come one because maybe you didn't listen, because you didn't even know that this is possible and you need a proof for whatever reason. Maybe they're preparing you. It could be a million reason things, but it's such a beautiful dance. It's like you're trying to understand what's going on. And you know, the other day I had an experience with Ogumbalenyo, and I was crying because I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this happening. I had an experience where I don't remember what I was asking. I mean, I do remember. I don't think I want to share. It's too personal, but when I felt the energy and saw what I saw and experienced what I experienced, I was like, wow, like I cannot be nothing but grateful for the experience, for the healing, for the interaction, for the communication, for the teaching, for the wisdom. I was just like blown away. And it was just so beautiful. I was completely blown away beyond what I can share. But let me go back. Let me go back 1 second to the astral body, because this is something that I have been talking a lot about, especially in the dream regression training. And the astral body sometimes has a mind of its own. It's like we're two different people. Sometimes it could be a younger astral body, and sometimes it can be wiser. Sometimes it just not in alignment with the physical matter because we're not paying attention, we're disconnected. So when we start working with ourselves in the healing process, and we start connecting to the astral body, and we start really aligning the physical, the mind, the spirit, and the soul, we're doing a lot of work to align that so that we can really open up and help our DNA read the DNA the right way. Because we know that even through science, through epigenetics, that the DNA reads based on the trauma that has been passed down from our ancestors. Isn't that crazy? So one time I heard a voice say, what was it, 108 nadis or something like that I needed to look into, and it was related to something that I was trying to understand. And anyway, it led me to understanding a deeper understanding of the nadis, and the channels that run through our body, through the astral body including. And what I found interesting is that even He's talking about that in that book, but what he's saying is that with the astral body, when the astral body is in contact with these energies, there's going to be sort of like, imagine another energy. The astral body is just energy. It doesn't have this, right? So the astral body is coming in contact with these beings, and these beings that are coming in, it's like they're coming in and doing this so that then this body can react differently. This is important to me, and hopefully to those that are into these type of things, because when we feel that force that is coming in from outside, that has more wisdom, more knowledge, what they're also doing is that they're giving us some of that wisdom and knowledge, even when they mount us to do work for others. Why? Because when your energy comes in contact with another energy that is this much bigger and brighter and vibrating at a higher frequency, which is basically what it is, because when you have more wisdom and knowledge, you have more energy, your chakras rotate way faster. And when that happens, you also go through an awakening. You also go through deeper understanding of things that maybe before didn't make sense, but then after you start working with these energies, it's like, oh wow, things start coming together, right? So I don't think everybody should be mounting. So I'm not saying go and start mounting, but I believe everybody should be meditating, because the same thing can happen when we meditate. We can come in contact with these beings without having to have them mount us. Now, if you're a horse, you're a horse. And if you're a horse and you're giving permission for this to happen, or, you know, if you're not giving permission, then you know what you need to do. You need to go seek help and do some treatment so that you can put a stop to some of that. But if you're doing the mounting and all of that, you also need to know how to prepare your body and how to prepare yourself. And you have to meditate. You have to take this very seriously, because sometimes also when you have an elder, they're going to know if it's something that belongs or not. And if it's something that doesn't belong and you're mounting because you think, ooh, and it's not something that belongs, like an energy that is part of your spirit team, that is there to work with you because it's a mystery, it's a blah, 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 blah. But you think it is because it feels similar and you don't know how to discern the energy. You could be mounted by something that doesn't have your highest intention in mind. So that's just a warning for some people that maybe, you know, like I talk to a lot of people that love going to la fiestas and the tambors, and, you know, just be careful. Just make sure that you're meditating often and that you're learning to discern energy. That is the key. We have to learn to discern energy. Otherwise, we're just going to have a lot of issues. A lot. You know, I'm just going to leave it here for now. I think I talked too much. I'm going to leave it here for now, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.